Okay, good morning. I see we've only got one student. I have posted the Zoom links on WhatsApp in the actual group, and I've also posted it as a discussion on the actual Cole Campus platform. I don't want to keep you waiting, so I'm going to start. This session is being recorded, so I will send this through to Boston in order to upload this onto the actual Cole Campus platform. I did type a message in the chat. I see we've only got Christine and Henlo joining, so thank you very much for taking the time and to attend the live session. If there are any questions, something specific that you want me to go over, cover in more detail, please let me know in the chat, or if you want, you can also use your microphone if you prefer. It's totally up to you. I hope you're familiar with Zoom. You can use your mic if you prefer. You can also type, yes, good morning to you. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're staying safe as well. Before we actually start with the course content, I just want to cover a few things just to make sure that all the students are okay with what Boston is providing currently. Obviously, you have access to the Cole Campus platform. I'm just going to move these things across. Okay, so please remember that you do have access to the Cole Campus platform. It looks like this. This is the 2021 Cole Campus platform. Just please note that the module code has changed from last year. It is now HFNM232_1. So that's what we're going to be using as the course code for this year. There is some introduction information here in terms of the welcome to Boston Media House, a little bit of background regarding the module, and then if you go to the next page, which is announcements, this is quite important purely for the access to videos. Janet had posted a little announcement here for all the students regarding accessing the video links on Cole Campus. Sometimes students struggle with accessing the video content. So from this session, so I'm recording this session's content as well as some of the pre-recorded videos as well. Janet has uploaded this how to access videos on the actual platform. So please use that resource if you have any problems viewing or accessing the course content from Cole Campus. Then something else to highlight for all of you is the discussions, okay? If you look at the actual discussions page, you'll see that I've obviously uploaded a few discussion points for you to consider. Remember, last week was week 1. It was all theory. In week 1, we covered content relating to the role of the financial manager. We spoke about accounting and financial management. And then there were some activities that you had to complete. So what we've learned from previous, let's say, semesters, okay, from last semester and the semester before when we actually moved online because of COVID, obviously. Last year, maybe I should just make that announcement as well. If I go to the main page, if you scroll further down, obviously Santon, that's me, and then the academic manager. Okay, so we're still waiting for an appointment. I don't know who the new academic manager is going to be. The previous academic manager, Pranisha, has unfortunately left. So this year we're still waiting for Boston to appoint a new academic manager. There is an acting academic manager, and obviously her name is Janet. She's the one that had posted this for all of you. So please just be patient with Boston Media House while they wait to appoint a new academic manager. The academic manager's role is to manage the quality of the course and to make sure that Cole Campus is set up correctly and all the resources are available. So I'm obviously having to deal with Janet in the meantime. She is part of Boston Media House in terms of head office, so she has been working at Boston for quite some time, and she's obviously been given this acting role as well to manage all of Pranisha's courses. All right, so just please just take note of that. Obviously, we're still waiting for the new academic manager. We hope that happens soon. And then her details or his details, either or, okay, whoever's appointed, will obviously be shared on the actual platform as well. Okay. Just coming back to the discussions, there have been a few posts. Obviously, I've seen lots of you have joined the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group is there for announcements and any questions that you might have regarding the content that's going to be covered in each of the different weeks that we're going to have. As I said, last week we were looking at Chapter 1's content, so I've already posted a few discussion points here regarding the course content that you would have covered. Please review the video that we've created. So what we're doing this semester is I'm recording all the content that's in the actual textbook, and I'm teaching the content in a pre-recorded video to allow for a shorter video because of Boston's requirements to upload shorter videos to Cold Campus. Okay, so this live session is obviously going to be a lot longer. Your course content in terms of teaching will be done as a pre-recorded video, and the benefit of that is that you are able to obviously go back and you can watch the content as much times as you want if you need to. Okay, so I'm covering theory, I'm going through the textbook, I'm literally discussing all the important points that you would have to cover in the actual course content. Okay, so from the textbook. So Chapter 1 was very short. You had to look at the goal of the business. You had to identify what the differences were in terms of accounting and financial management, and that obviously relates to the role of the financial manager. And then once you had covered that, I asked you to please consider the different businesses in South Africa, especially in the media industry. Obviously, all of you are studying a BBA and you're focused on media. So media is definitely one of your passions, okay, something that you're passionate about, something that you enjoy. And this is something that you need to consider when looking at different types of businesses. So the ones that I've shared with you, Process and Naspers. Okay, once upon a time, they were actually the same company. Obviously, they've split, okay? They've become two separate JSE listed companies, and you can use that as an example. Okay, so if you've watched the course content from week 1 and from week 2, I speak to those two companies. Okay, I talk about Process and I talk about Naspers to try to bring more real world examples to explain the content so that you're familiar with what's happening in the actual chapter. What I asked you to do is to please consider other examples. Okay, so maybe some of you, there might be some part-time students as well joining us. I don't mind if you're part-time or full-time. You can decide on which session you want to attend. Okay, there's obviously 2 sessions. Okay, one hosted for full-time mainly and one hosted for part-time. But because it's online and the links are sent to all the students, and there's one Cold Campus platform for both part-time and full-time students, you can decide what's more convenient. You can either attend full-time or part-time or both. It's totally up to you. Okay, I'm not going to say that you have to attend a specific session. Just do what works for you. As long as you're covering the content and attending the live, you should be okay. All right, so please consider those questions. I haven't seen any responses yet, so I'm going to leave it open. You can still engage in the platform. Remember, these are practical questions that you would have covered as part of the course content. Right, some of it I've spoken to in the actual recording, and some of it we'll look at in other activities. But those questions are still available there. So please try and engage on the platform as much as you can. Remember, Cold Campus is the platform that you have to access all your study notes, videos, etc., discussions. So please try and engage on the platform if you can. The nice thing about Cold Campus is that you can actually see the responses that other students have provided. So all of you can actually learn from each other as well. Okay, so if you have interesting examples, maybe share those with the class. If you've thought about the primary goal of a media business, okay, remember to look at the mission statement and the vision. Okay, that's something that I'm asking you to maybe have a look at. Maybe you're working for a media company, right? What is the mission statement? What is the vision? Maybe share that with the class as well. Okay. Is there a difference between accounting and financial management? There definitely is. So I would like you to maybe consider what the differences are and how are those skills going to help businesses achieve those goals. Okay, so please share your findings. That discussion is still open. There are others as well. It's going to go back to the discussions page. Chapter 1, review and discussion. Okay, this is looking at questions from the actual chapter. I'm going to be looking at some of that now as part of the live. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any specific questions. So I don't know if there's anything that you want me to cover. I see we've got a few other students joining us. So welcome Beverly, welcome Dennis. Okay, we've got 2 Dennises. Welcome Dennis Masilo. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to attend live. So I'm going to go through some of that with you in terms of points that you would have covered from the actual textbook to make sure that you're on track and to make sure you've covered everything that you're required to. Right, chapter 2 has already been posted. Okay, this week we're looking at chapter 2's content. We're starting with the first few pages 13 to 19. This is looking at the objectives and purpose of accounting. Again, please click the discussion, okay, and have a look at the questions that I've posted for that week. Right, and then obviously live Zoom classes, the links are there as well. Okay, so you can use the platform. We do need to use Cole Campus as much as possible. Management wants us to focus on Cole Campus. So I'm just trying to direct your attention to Cole Campus. Yes, you've got WhatsApp and you can definitely use that as well. If you have any urgent questions or comments that you want me to address, please let me know on WhatsApp, that's fine. But obviously, if you can, rather post it on Cole Campus so everyone can see it, all the students. Not all the students have joined, obviously on WhatsApp. The link is there for everyone. Okay, some students choose not to, some students do. It's totally up to you. Okay, it's your choice if you want to join the WhatsApp or not, but it's available for you for the subject. All right, so let's have a look at course content. I'm going to put up the textbook. Okay, so Financial Management 1, we're obviously looking at the first level. If you've watched the video where I describe the purposes of this module, okay, remember all of you are studying something related to media, and depending on what you end up doing, you're obviously going to have a specific role. And the focus for you as a BBA student is a managerial position. So when you reach that position later on in your career, obviously you're going to have to make decisions based on money, okay, based on finance. So the purpose of this module is to give you the accounting basics that you need in order to make decisions. Okay, and if you've gone through chapter 1 and 2, you'll see that accounting is just that. It's a way for businesses to prepare and present information so that users can make decisions. All right, and that's our focus, and that's what I'm going to run through. Okay, I can't cover all the content again because you already have a video covering that. Okay, so I've already covered chapter 1's content, and I've already covered chapter 2's content, but only up until page 19. Okay, page 13 to 19. We'll be covering the rest soon, and that'll be posted as well to Cole Campus. Let's have a look at chapter 1. If you have any other questions, please feel free to use the chat or the microphone. It's totally up to you. It's a small class, so if you want to keep your mic on and you want to talk to me as we go through the content, that's perfectly fine. This is your time, this is your Q&A. It's to address topics, questions, activities that you might have covered in chapter 1 and chapter 2 that you want me to go over in more detail. All right, so I'm going to start off with chapter 1's activities. I've covered the theory, so I'm going to focus on the activities so we can discuss and we can address those in more detail. Chapter 1's introduction we've looked at before. I just want to speak to some of the more important points. Okay, so once you've gone through chapter 1's content, please make sure you're comfortable with the financial goal of the business. The financial goal of the business is to maximize shareholder value or wealth. Right? And if you've watched the video from last week, you would have seen I've discussed 2 examples, okay, media companies, so obviously Process, Naspers, but I also looked at Twitter as an example because it's the best example I can give you of a company that wasn't profitable in the past and is profitable now. Okay, so Twitter, when they were created, okay, when the company first started, wasn't making a profit. and they weren't making a profit for years until more recently. Okay, if you look at the more recent financial statements of Twitter, they have now made a profit. So those are things that you need to consider to help you understand and to apply this to real world scenarios. Okay, we haven't briefed you yet in terms of your first assessment. That'll only be done in one of the later weeks. I'm going to obviously ask Janet just to find out when the approved brief will be released. And once the approved brief will be released, it will be uploaded onto Cole Campus. All right, so you've got a little note there about the primary goal of the business. Always remember that the primary goal of the business is to maximize wealth and to maximize value. Okay, profit is a byproduct of operating successfully. Okay, so if you scroll further down, you'll see that businesses do focus on profit, but it shouldn't be the only focus. Because if it is the only focus, then you're going to land up in this situation. And I want to show you the discussion activity here from the textbook dealing with this, the agency problem. Okay, when you look at activity 1B, right, you've got something that you can actually refer to based on a conflict of interest, right, an agency problem. So maybe some of you have done some research. Okay, this is quite old, okay, in terms of the event, okay, when this took place. Right, in the past, Steinhoff was one of our largest companies in South Africa. Steinhoff is one of our smallest companies now, currently, because they've basically fallen from grace, okay, because Steinhoff was guilty of mismanagement. Right, so the directors, okay, the managers, okay, the whole purpose of Chapter 1 is to establish what the role is of the financial manager. And if you've gone through the content, you would have seen, depending on the type of business, obviously it could have been a sole proprietor, a partnership, a CC, or a company, but there are certain roles that managers need to play in terms of decision making. Okay, so when you're looking at Steinhoff, just appreciate that Steinhoff is just one example. Okay, this is an example of what you shouldn't do. Right, so businesses shouldn't only chase profit, because if you're only chasing profit, you can actually destroy value. All right, so Steinhoff was obviously guilty of the agency problem. Okay, so to cut a long story short, what happened at Steinhoff? Well, you had directors, okay, the CEO as well. The CEO was obviously the last person to make the final say, okay, in terms of decision making. Okay, ex-CEO Marcus Euster, okay, faces investigation for corporate fraud and corruption at the company. All right, it's an ongoing investigation. You can still find articles about Steinhoff even now, looking at what's happening at the company. Okay, more recently, Steinhoff was actually asked to pay a certain amount of money to some of the let's call it the role players, or the parties who were negatively affected by what the company had done. Okay, so there's a lot that's happening at Steinhoff. Obviously, things are still playing itself out. Okay, we still don't know what the final judgment is going to be, but that's ongoing. Okay, so it's always nice to have real world examples that you can refer to. But does anyone know what the agency problem is? Can anyone tell me what the agency problem is? You've got a microphone and you've got the chat. I'm going to move the chat across so we can all see it. What is the agency problem? This is a very common test type question that can come up. Either a longer question or a shorter question, but you need to know what the agency problem is. So does anyone know what it is? Anyone? Okay, remember, use the mic or use the chat, up to you. Let's try to get some interaction from the students in the class. Just remember to unmute your microphone if you want to speak to us. Does anyone want to try? Okay, doesn't look like it. I don't see any mics on. I don't see any answers in the chat. Anything? Okay, we've got something. Dennis says conflict of interest between managers and owners. Very good. Okay, so Just remember, when you have different types of businesses, and that's what Chapter 1 also talks to. Okay, hopefully you've gone through Chapter 1 and you've seen you have 4 different types of businesses. Obviously, CCs still exist, but you can't register new ones. Okay, Dennis is correct. Conflict of interest is perfect. So, when you looked at CEO Marcus Euster, all right, who makes the decision at the company? The CEO. Is the CEO also a shareholder? In most cases, they are. Okay, but not in all. All right, so sometimes you have a situation where you are making a decision that's going to affect the company, but it's also going to affect you as the individual. And that's what we're looking at here in terms of Marcus Euster as the CEO. Okay, what's stopping the CEO from awarding themselves a nice big bonus? What's stopping the CEO from increase their salaries and wages? What's stopping the CEO for doing certain things within the company that's going to benefit the CEO or the directors more than the owners? There's nothing really stopping them. The only thing that you could consider is obviously corporate governance, okay, ethics. And those are things that you'll see as part of a later discussion, okay, when we look at corporate governance. Right, the only thing that we can actually focus on here is this whole agency problem and how it creates almost like 2 separate, let's say, goals. Okay, the one goal is obviously to increase value for everyone, and the other goal is obviously to benefit the individual. Okay, and that's not always a good thing. Right, yes, it's a good thing if it's a win-win situation. Right, so if employees are incentivized to do well, okay, when the company does well, then everybody wins, right? Then there's no conflict of interest. But if the company is being taken advantage of, in other words, if the CEO, if the directors are, inverted commas, okay, committing fraud, stealing from the company, then the company will lose value and the company won't increase in terms of value. So I'm glad that you've mentioned that, a conflict of interest. And there's always a conflict, right? You can see that there's a conflict here. Okay, profits of the company were inflated over the course of several years. Irregular financial transactions. Several third-party companies also linked to the fraud at Steinhoff. High-ranking executives required to respond to allegations. Further investigation needed to uncover the full scope of the fraud. Okay, so you have management on one side, and then you have the company, shareholders on the other side. Right, shareholders lost lots and lots of value. Okay, the share price of Steinhoff now is around 2-3 rand. Okay, before it was like 200-300 rand. That's how much value was destroyed. Okay, so please just appreciate how important it is to focus on value. Okay, and I've tried to speak to that in the actual theory as well. Okay, maybe some of you want to start your own businesses. Okay, maybe some of you want to be a business owner. Okay, why do you start a business? You don't start a business because of profit. If profit's the motive, no one will start a business, because all businesses take time to become profitable. It takes maybe a year or 2 to become profitable. Right? When you start a business, you need lots of capital. Right? So why would you put capital into a business that's not going to be profitable? Well, you do it because you want to create value. Okay, you want a business that will become valuable. All right, Steinhoff started once upon a time as someone's idea. Okay, Naspers, Process, all of those businesses, they have to start somewhere. Okay, when businesses start, they're generally unprofitable. Okay, it's very seldom that you get a business that makes a profit as soon as they start. Okay, so month 1 or month 2. Okay, or even think about the current scenario now. COVID, lockdown, all of that. Okay, obviously a weak economy in South Africa. Right, some businesses are struggling. A lot of businesses are probably making a loss. So do those businesses say, okay, well, we're making a loss now, so we're going to stop operating? No, they don't. Okay, those businesses still continue because the market is cyclical. Okay, I'm just going to write that word down. Okay, cycles. Okay, so you have booms. Okay, this you'll learn in economics. And you have busts. Okay, recession. Okay, so expansion and recession. Okay, boom and bust. Right, when you have a recession, all companies generally struggle. Right, there are a few that do well. Okay, so if you think about companies that are digital. Okay, digital companies, Zoom. Okay, we're using Zoom, okay, to host this live lesson. If you go do research, okay, Google it. Google Zoom and Google the company's success over the pandemic. Some companies have done extremely well, even during a global pandemic, because of online, because of the internet, etc. Okay, and Zoom is just one example. You could actually say Zoom is a media company, right? Kind of, not quite. Okay, they're not providing content, but they're providing a platform for people to share content. Okay, I can share my screen with all of you because I have this this application. Okay, so without the application, we wouldn't be able to do this. Right? And there are other examples: Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter. Right? All of these internet companies, Process, Naspers, okay, Netflix, right, Showmax, DSTV. All of those companies are media companies, and they've done very well. Okay, other media companies haven't. On the other side, you've got print. Okay, so let's talk about Caxton. Print media. Okay, how many of you have bought a magazine or newspaper recently? Probably none of you. Right, so those are the type of things that I want to see you engaging with in terms of content. Right, so please use those Cold Campus platforms to share your ideas. Okay, maybe you know a bit more about Caxton. Maybe some of you are working at Caxton perhaps. I don't know your background, but you can share some of your ideas and your thoughts with your classmates as well, to try better understand and to grasp these concepts. Okay, and that's chapter 1. Chapter 1 ended with that discussion, okay, and multiple choice questions. All right, this is something that I'm going to mention right at the beginning of the course because it will help all of you as you go. Okay, in chapter 1, there's not a lot of multiple choice, but there are a few questions to help you practice. Okay, because we're looking at online assessments, because it's online, it's multiple choice. So you can use these questions here in your textbook to practice. Practice makes perfect. Okay, it's like going to the gym, right? Okay, if you go to the gym and you don't actually use the equipment, you're not going to get stronger, you're not going to lose weight. Okay, so going to the gym requires exercise. Okay, these are your exercises. So if you're practicing, okay, you're going to get better at answering these questions. Right, if you're going to the assessment and you're seeing multiple choice questions for the first time, that's bad. Okay, you haven't practiced. Okay, you haven't built up your fitness, inverted commas. Okay, you need to try answer as many of these questions as you can. Okay, and some of them might even be similar to the ones that you might even be asked in your assessments. Okay, so please use these activities to practice, and that's how we've structured the course this semester. Okay, what we're doing is we're trying to keep the video shorter because we understand that some students have problems accessing Cold Campus in terms of data, okay, not being able to watch a 2-hour video. Okay, so I've tried to shorten videos also because it's a requirement from Boston. Okay, Boston has actually asked me, okay, when I create videos for Cold Campus, make sure it's shorter rather than longer. So I'm trying to keep them shorter and more specific to specific topics. Okay, so there'll be more videos, but shorter videos covering content from the actual textbook. All right, the activities we're going to be looking at in our live sessions, okay, or on Cold Campus and WhatsApp. So if you have questions about the activities posted on Cold Campus, maybe you've done this question: what is the primary goal of the business? I'm hoping all of you say maximizing shareholder wealth. We just saw it in the textbook, okay? Not maximizing profit, not maximizing market share. Those are other objectives. Those are other goals. They're not the primary goal of the business. It's not why we operate. Okay, we operate to maximize shareholder wealth, to maximize shareholder value. Okay, and that's what you should be considering. Okay. All right, let's have a look at chapter 2. If there's nothing else that we need to address there, I don't see any questions. Okay, there was an answer earlier from Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. If you have questions, please use the chat or the mic. All right, chapter 2. We've got a few pages of information to get through here. In terms of content for this week, page 13 to 19, things that you need to cover. Okay, brief history of accounting, the double entry rule, and then uses and uses of information. Okay, so I've covered the theory. You have a video on it. What I'm going to focus in the session, in the live session, is the activities. All right, so let's have a look at activity number 1. The first one, okay, numbered 2A. When you look at this activity, you'll see they're asking you to do some research. Okay, so in other words, take what you know, go and look at the world of work. Okay, either maybe the company that you're working in or the company that you want to work in, up to you. But when you look at this activity, there are numerous advantages and benefits of using financial information. Okay, we all know that accounting and finance go hand in hand. Okay, accountants do all the record keeping. Accountants create the reports. Financial managers use that information. Okay, accountants create the information, managers use the information. Both are important because they have a different role, they have a different focus. So here we're looking at advantages and benefits of using financial information. Right, so if you're looking at a specific company, and it could be any company, it could be NASPERS, Process, you name it. Okay, I've given you the downloads on the actual platform as well. You can download NASPERS and Process's financial statements. Okay, I'm not going to go through it in a lot of detail. I'm just going to open up NASPERS, okay, because they're more common. Okay, you've probably heard of NASPERS before. Process is new, and that's because it splits. Okay, I've got a note here. The meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay, all right. Just to have a look here at the financial information here. All right, I'm just going to put up this page, the overview. All right, do you see financial information here? Yes, you do. Okay, I see revenue, I see profits, I see employees. Okay, that's information. It's quantitative. In other words, it's measurable in numbers. We can go measure how much revenue the classifieds section of NASPERS is generating. Okay, who would have thought OLX in terms of revenue brings in $1 billion US. Okay, obviously this is in million, so I'm just reading it in terms of billion. Okay, this is 1.299 billion or $1,299 million. Okay, that's from classifieds. Okay, so the OLX group, obviously the group is a lot bigger than just OLX. There are other brands. Okay, you can see that they've mentioned that there, and they operate in other countries as well. Okay, food delivery. Right, what forms part of that? iFood, Delivery Hero, Swiggy, and they operate in 38 markets around the world. Okay, so online food delivery. In South Africa, Uber. Okay, Uber Eats, Mr. Delivery. All right, maybe you've used some of those applications. NASPERS also has businesses that operate in that industry. Okay, what am I looking at here? Numbers. Okay, financial information. Okay, so if you had to look at this, forget about the other ones. I'm not going to scroll across. Okay, I'm just going to keep it on those 5. Classifieds, food delivery, payments, e-tail. Okay, e-tail is obviously e-commerce. Okay, so e-mag, you can see a little bit of information here. Take a lot. All right, so this would be, they don't talk about retail, they talk about e-commerce. Okay, but remember, e-commerce can be food delivery online. Okay, that's an e-commerce business. Right, here they're talking about retail. Right, so e-commerce, but focusing on retail. Okay, retail has changed. People buy things online more now than they did before. Okay, so if we're looking at those 5 businesses, or let's say segments, okay, those business segments, ventures, e-tail, payments, food delivery, classifieds. In the chat, which one's doing the best? Can you type your answer in the chat? Is it classifieds, food delivery, payments, e-tail, or ventures? See, you're a manager, you're using information to make a decision. Yes, Christine and Henlo say e-tail. Correct. Okay, so why did you go with e-tail? Well, you went with e-tail because you can interpret the financial information. $1.7 billion US is more than 99 million, 428 million, 751 million, and $1.2 billion. Right, so all of you can see that this business makes the most revenue. But is that the best answer? Probably not. Okay, do we have any other answers in the chat? E-tail creates the most revenue. Okay, but is e-tail the most profitable? What's the answer there? Yes or no? Which business is the most profitable? Can someone else help us in the chat? Okay, I hear someone's voice. Bukle Betu, yes?
Yes, OLX. I think it's OLX with the trading profit.
Trading profit is 44 million. Is that the biggest?
I think so.
Is
Because
it?
all of the other ones are trading losses.
Correct. Very good. See, Bukle can read financial information very well. Okay, have a look. Loss, 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 profit. Okay, who would have thought? Okay, who would have thought you could make 1.7 billion in US dollars and still make a loss? It's possible. Okay, sometimes businesses go through bad times. Sometimes businesses don't do so well. Okay, sometimes the costs of running those businesses are higher. So if you look at what we've got here on screen, the only segment that makes a profit is OLX in terms of classifieds. Okay, that business model, that business segment is profitable. Okay, it is up 100%. Okay, obviously here, this is up 100%. So when we say up, it's an improvement. Okay, they've done better. This is up, so they've also done better. This is down. Okay, so the cost of doing retail has become more of a problem. Okay, it's expensive delivering goods to people. Okay, retail. And sometimes, I mean, think about it, retail. If you're selling retail goods, some of those goods don't have large markups or margins. Okay, and these are things you'll learn about later on in your course. You will all know how to calculate a markup. Okay, a markup on cost. In other words, what did something cost me? How much markup am I adding to that product? And what am I going to get at the end in terms of a selling price? Okay, right, so I hope this makes sense. I hope all of you can realize how important it is to have good financial skills, that you can read basic information. This is basic. Okay, if you know what the difference is between a profit and a loss, which you don't know yet, okay, we haven't covered that in detail, but we will. Okay, profit is obviously better than a loss. Okay, and you'll even learn how to calculate it eventually, okay, when we get to that topic. All right, let's go back to your textbook. All right, so that's just one advantage. Okay, advantage: using information, making decisions, knowing which business unit is better, etc. Okay, those weren't the only ones. I just had those 5 on screen. There are others as well. Okay, Naspers is very profitable. Okay, so please don't get me wrong. Okay, not all their businesses are struggling. Some are doing very, very, very well. Okay, let's have a look at more of the activities before we wrap up this session. Was there anything else? No. Okay, then this covers the different forms of businesses. Okay, the management account internal. Okay, that I haven't covered yet. Okay, so we've actually covered all the activities so far. Okay, there's not a lot. Okay, remember week 1, week 2, still lots of introduction, easing into it, getting into the swing of things. We obviously have some late students registering as well, but hopefully you've gone through what you've needed to. Right, so maybe just to use the last few minutes, I see the time is running out. Do any of you have any questions? Anything else that you want me to quickly cover? I didn't see anything else in the chat, so I'm hoping all of you are okay with that. When we first started, I just asked everyone, was there anything specific you needed me to cover? There wasn't anything. I don't know if there's still something. Anything? Your chance to ask. Are we happy? Okay, looks like everyone's happy. I've got a response in the chat, thank you. Buklebertu said all good. The rest, are you okay? Beverly, Christine and Henlo. Dennis, and Dennis Masilo? Okay, looks like everyone's okay. Everyone seems to be okay. All right. Okay, so that's the consensus then. There's not much time left before this particular session times out. I mean, we could have started a new one, but it looks like everyone's happy. Okay, so I'm going to just remind all of you to please have a look at the content on Cole Campus. For those of you that attended late, you might have missed that, but this video will be sent to management and they'll upload this onto Cole Campus. Please remember, there are videos under modules. Okay, under modules, you've got it broken up into weeks. Okay, each week has a specific task that you need to cover. There's a roadmap as well, but I see that hasn't been uploaded yet. I will raise that to Janet, and then she can update this. There is a roadmap as well, and there are videos for each section. Okay, please use the discussion forum posts to try engage a bit more with the content. Okay, to try get you to answer questions, because then I can also look at your writing skills and I can also respond to you on the platform. Okay, there's less than a minute. I'm just going to take time to say goodbye to everyone before this time's out. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Buklebeti. Thank you, Christina Henlo. Thank you, Dennis. And thank you, Dennis Masilo. Thank you very much for attending the live session. We will upload the video on Cole Campus, so you can review this again if you need to. Take care and stay safe. We will have another session. It will be announced on Cole Campus as well as on WhatsApp. So please just keep up with your studies and you'll be fine. All right, it's timed out.